If in 1 month from now, so that's end of January, you will have to be playing day in and day out in games with Linus Love, Stefan, which are 2 high stakes cash game and bosses, Michael Adamo and Tino Mulder, high stakes MTT bosses. How would you approach studying, preparing, and playing poker? Think about this question. Hi there, my fellow ambitious poker players. Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel, where in today's video I am going to show you guys some parts of the end of the year webinar that I gave in our academy, which was about how to make this year your greatest poker year ever. Now, I'm very happy with how the complete webinar turned out, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of poker players reach their big and ambitious goals. And since we are all about big ambitions here at Poker Ambition and we wanted to help you realize those, we have decided to make this webinar available completely for free over at pokerambition.com. So if you like the clips that I'm about to show you here in this video, make sure to go over to the site and let me help you guys make this your greatest year ever. So without further ado, let's start. Your greatest poker year ever and many more to follow. What we're going to discuss today is how you got here, and then we're talking about your life. Some fundamental knowledge on why you have the life you have, reflection, forgiveness, and change. I wanted to start here, like most of these presentations you would imagine start with, okay guys, why are you here today? What do you want? Why do you want it? Why are you going to fail? Why are you going to succeed? But I think that then you're kind of missing the bigger picture, and then if you don't know a lot of points that I'm going to explain in point 1, 2, then you're going to fail. So I figured let's start off with that. Then we're going to talk about who you actually are and what you actually want. Getting some clarity. Then we're going to talk about your purpose in life in general, your beliefs, your vision, and your goals. Then we're going to talk about what do we need to succeed? Why do we fail? And in the end, it's decision time, aka we're going to commit to what we said that we're going to do. And I'll give you some final words. Okay. I'm going to blow open a bottle of champagne. Actually, that's actually not a bad idea. I can't go too deep on every topic due to time restrictions, but if you want to know more, then go through the How to Become a More Successful Poker Player series that I gave in this academy. I love the stuff that we're going to talk about today. The reasons why we fail, reason why we succeed. It's also stuff that I talked about more in depth in those webinars. Also, if you are in the academy or in that bundle, you can ask questions on the Discord channel, and I'll help you guys further out there. So this is the ramble part. How did you get here? Why do you have the life that you currently have? Where you are now, for the most part, is the result of the decisions you have made. So basically, you got exactly what you deserved. Okay. Now, some excuses might come out and you're like, yeah, but wacko. 90% of those things are probably just quote, quote, bullshit and excuses. Then there are some things that are actually true, right? Like circumstances that were very much out of our control, but you can always find a person that was in the same circumstances, but that turned it around into a better reality than the reality of the other person experiencing the same event. So it's always how we deal with events that will shape our destiny. Okay. It's not the environment that shapes who we are, aka our identity, but it's you who creates your reality, your identity, and your environment. Okay. If you, there's a lot of you, and I highlighted it, if you want a different life, you must make different choices. So why do we make the choices we make? This is very important to get an understanding of this. So how did you get here? Simple system. In life, we encounter various events. Okay. We then perceive and label these events as either a good event or a bad event, a pleasant event, or a very painful event. Okay. So what I wrote here, it's not the event itself, but our perception, which is based on our conditionings and on our belief systems. We're not going to go too deep into that because then we'll talk for another couple of hours. This perception the perception of the event, generates certain thoughts. Oh, this is very pleasant. Oh, this is not very pleasant. Oh, I like this. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, this is just, out of my control. This is in my control, etc. When you have a certain thought, the response to a thought is a feeling. You cannot think about happy things and feel bad at the same time, and vice versa. Try this at home. It's true. If you feel bad, you usually think about bad stuff. If you're good, you usually don't think about bad stuff. So if you want to feel better, think about a lot of good things and you will actually feel better. It's as simple as that. But it's not that simple, and that I will try to explain. These feelings then drive our actions and the decisions we make. And as this cycle repeats, it shapes who you are as you become what you repeatedly do. An event, we make a decision, new event, we make a new decision. Repeatedly, we become who we are due to our response to events. All right. So we can conclude from this that the person who makes good decisions gets a great life. Good decisions equals great life. That's the simple math here. Poor decisions equal a bad life. Okay. Why do we make decisions? With our actions and decisions, we try to accomplish one or two things. We want to experience pleasure, or we want to avoid pain. It's literally as simple as that. If we go back to the basics of the basics, this is what everyone wants in life. This is what everyone is changing one way or the other. So your behavior usually has something to do with this, right? We experience things as pleasant when they fulfill one of our human needs and or are in line with our values. Because it's not like everyone does exactly the same things, because what we experience as pleasure, what we experience as pain, and what our needs are vary per person. This all starts with clarity, okay? How do we gain clarity? By asking questions and being curious about what lays underneath our feelings and behaviors. This is a question. You can make a print screen, write it down, whatever. Like I said, we don't have enough time to really go through all the questions, but this is a very important question to ask yourself. Who are you? And then reflectively, what do my actions so far in life / my career say about what my values and what my human needs are? Recommended Googling, I wrote it down here. Tony Robbins, 6 Human Needs, it has a test. Human values probably also has some sort of test. So your values roll out. You can also have positive values, negative values. And basically, you want to know your values so you can make decisions which are in line with your values. And if you make decisions in line with your values, you feel happy about yourself. Now, the reason I started with this, okay, the reason we need to know and understand ourselves before I ask you what you want and why, is to prevent conflict in your goals. Sometimes you might set a goal, okay, that again, the small part of your brain thinks is a great idea, but actually is not in line with your values. You have to make certain sacrifices that you don't really want to make. Next, what is your purpose and what are your goals? Okay, I will spoil this because in the end, there is only one purpose in life, which is to feel fulfilled. And you can say content, satisfied, happy, however you want to call it. Okay, we will have different missions and different goals in life. We want to achieve and possess certain things, but it's all to serve this bigger purpose. You want to be happy. What we acquire will never make us happy. Who we are, what we do day to day, and who we will become will determine our happiness, which is the end goal. Okay. This is not a destination. Okay, it's an experience, a state of being, a way of living. You're grinding not to go somewhere, so what I always did, and get something, but for the grind itself. And beautiful things happen when you can get into the state. It's the state of abundance. Okay, you're very happy with what you have. You don't need anything else. And from there, you can play poker with freedom, with joy, with creativity. Okay, poker suddenly becomes great again. So if you experience a lot of negativity around poker, this is probably a fix for you. We are happiest when we are trying to actualize our potential. Remember Maslow's pyramid, it was at the top. Actualize our potential. Living as close to our true potential as possible. Only continuous development and growth lead to happiness. And having that is success, in my opinion. All right. So question, I said, this is in my opinion, of course. What is your definition of success? I always tell, like, success is you succeeding in your definition of success, not in my definition of success. Okay. Another question, knowing your values, needs, and understanding your purpose and how that looks for you. What is your current mission? The goal you are trying to accomplish? What are you fired up about? So this is basically, you know, what a lot of people thought we would start with. Hey guys, what are you fired up about? Wow, yeah, let's all crush 2022. Hey, discipline, come on, yeah, work ethic, work hard, work hard. No, this is not one of these webinars. Then the second question, cliche, but very important. Why do you want this? What is it going to give you? Okay. So many questions I see here. Questions is clarity, my friend. And with clarity is very important. You know that, what is that saying? If I had to cut a tree, I would spend 6 hours sharpening my axe or something. Basically, asking questions and being very clear will make, you know, you will start a little bit later, a week later, maybe on your poker journey this year, but it will be so much easier, man. You will outperform yourself 10x. I guarantee. You have to be very clear here, and you really need to want it. Would be nice, won't do. It has to be a goal that you're really fired up about. Okay. Again, this can maybe also be outside of poker, and then see, okay, how can poker help me reach that other goal? That's fine as well. Your new future needs to be, in order to change, your new future needs to be more compelling than your current reality, and compelling enough to say no to distractions, dopamine, and fight through the obstacles that will come in your way. It's not going to be easy. That's why having a strong why is important, because you will face obstacles. It will be hard. Okay. A reason why people give up is because they simply don't want it enough. Or this is actually more of a reason why people don't get into action. Their current reality it's not bad, but it's just not great. So they're kind of there's not a real necessity to change, right? If there's a real necessity to change, your life really sucks, and your current life is associated with a lot of pain, you want to change. But if your current life is okay, then we have to tap into some deeper sources. Okay, we have to raise the necessity, which we're going to do. That's a little exercise that we're actually going to do in the webinar. So in order to get to a new reality, we have to change, right? You cannot create a different reality as the same person. In order to change, you must change, not your environment. Okay? Your environment, aka your reality, is a reflection of you, not the other way around. Really get this, because everyone gets this the opposite way around. Okay? So we have to create a different reality. Changing is a matter of motivation, necessity, and not ability. Everyone can change. If I hold a gun to your head and say, do this, and it's something that you were not doing, you're going to do it, because necessity is goddamn high, right? Because else I put a trigger and you're dead. All right. Now, this is very extreme, but there is a point where you start moving. There's a point where you take action. To change, then, must be associated with more pleasure than not changing, which must be associated with more pain. This is the key formula for change, basically. Remember all the way one of the first slides, we're always trying to chase pleasure and avoid pain. How can we associate a current behavior that we don't like with more pain than changing into a new behavior? The new behavior needs to be more pleasure. Okay. A little question, and for people who went to previous webinars, I've asked this question before, and I think it's very strong. That's why I added it in again. If in 1 month from now, so that's end of January, you will have to be playing day in and day out in games with Linus Love, Stefan, which are two high stakes cash game and bosses, Michael Adamo and Tino Mulder, high stakes MTT bosses. How would you approach studying, preparing, and playing poker? Think about this question. If what I'm doing here, basically, I'm raising the necessity, because now a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, well, okay, yeah, if this is my opposition, then obviously, yeah, I should probably do this different. I should probably do this, because you're trying to beat them. And a lot of people, okay, they haven't set a goal high enough for them to raise that necessity. Their goal is to pay for their bills. or to pay for their rent. But as long as they can do it, then why would they raise their standards? There's no necessity. So you could then raise your expenses and rent a very expensive flat that basically you will run out of money in 3 months. So you have to become very innovative and try to figure out ways to make more money, which often actually will help. Don't recommend it. If you do it, don't come to me. You get the point. But many players wait for that situation. Yeah, okay, I will do this, but I will do that when that's actually the case. And again, then they're waiting for the environment to change for them to change. And as I just stated, it doesn't work like that. You will never get there unless you start doing the things necessary to beat these games now. Because then you actually do things different than the rest of your competition. And if you do the same things as your competition, you will get the same as the rest of your competition. So you're not outwork them. So you have to do things different. Do you think it's reasonable goal to reach certain stakes online, 5, 10, 10, 20, for example, and switch to live poker to play higher stakes with the skills you learn playing? Yeah, I think it's a reasonable goal. But again, not really focus on, I want to reach 5, 10, 10, 20. Focus on what person do I have to become and make goals around that. Then the result will be that you will get to 5, 10, 10, 20. Okay? People get that backwards usually. But it's good to set a high goal, right? Because that raises the necessity. Okay, high goal. Like I said, I asked you, you're going to play with Linus and Stefan. I mean, it's a high goal. You're going to have to show up. And then what happens if you set high goals, necessity rises and you become resourceful, you become creative. Okay, so let's say how would I do that? That has been a huge transformation in my career. For the people who didn't watch my YouTube video, I explained it there as well, that I was just also grinding. I didn't have a clear direction or a conscious goal. I was just clicking for the sake of clicking. I'm a poker player. I show up, I click, right? And I just want to pay my bills until I teamed up with Explode and he said, we're going to become the best. And I was like, okay. Then I thought, what does the best do? How does that look on a day-to-day basis? And I started doing that. And then my reality changed because I became a different person. All right. What do we need to make it more likely that you will succeed? What do we need to succeed? It starts all with energy. Low energy equals bad states equals bad decisions. And remember, make a lot of decisions that are bad, you have a poor life. High energy, good state, good decisions. So energy is the key to everything. When you're tired, do you make great decisions? Let's say you're tired and hungry and you walk into the supermarket, but you're on a diet. Are you going to fight the resistance? No, you're going to buy shit, right? That's how it works. So what determines energy? When you have high energy, things are easy. Everyone can relate to this. You start moving and make good decisions. And since your reality is the consequence of your decisions, pretty damn important if you ask me. Fatigue makes cowards and failures out of all of us. I thought that was a great quote. So now obviously you're asking yourself, well, Mr. Wacko, where does energy come from? Well, energy comes from internally, which is your mindsets, your belief systems, how you respond to a certain event, how you perceive certain events, right? Then you have the victim mentalities that think life is against them. People that trying to fight things that are out of their control costs a lot of energy, right? They get challenged, they get a downswing, they feel very down about themselves, they stay stuck in the past, in the downswing, costing a lot of energy. Other people might experience the same downswing, but they're like, hey, damn, and get fired up about it. So their response to that downswing actually generates more energy. Okay, they have a more positive mindset. Physiology. Usually, I try to not talk about sleep, eat, move, because then everyone goes like, oh, yeah, we know. But I hope that the way I explained it now, it starts to make sense. If you sleep well, if you eat, and if you move, you have more energy, you make better decisions, equals a better life. You understand now why it's actually important, right? It all starts with energy. That's why this is my point number 1. They build and reinforce momentum. Forward motion plus attention is energy is emotion, okay? Momentum is key. I will give you guys some tips on momentum. Strive towards living as your new identity. That's what we concluded. That's after you've reflected on that, you should now know, who am I being and how do I want to show up today? Okay. If you don't know this, you will be faced. If you don't know where you're going, why, and what your identity is, You will have so much decisions to make in a day. And at the end of the day, you'll be tired and you'll make bad decisions. Okay. But if you know exactly where you're going, what you're supposed to do, and how you want to show up, you face the situation and you know how to do it, how to deal with it. It's value and identity-driven decision making. Okay. Then when you recognize that you've done something which is in line with your new identity, recognize and celebrate that progress. Build on this. Be proud. Reinforce that positive behavior. Hey, I done it. That's like me. You feel it's also, I said it in a very, very energetic way, but I also actually get excited when I know it's like, hey, yeah, that is indeed like me. Especially when things is hard and you still did it. You know, tap yourself on the shoulder. Okay. A lot of people miss this part, but remember, they do everything with their thinking self, with that little 1%, less than 1% part of their body, and they ignore the rest. Questions. What gives me energy? Second, how can I get and sustain more of this? The sustaining is, you know, getting more of this is recognizing when you make progress towards your goal, right? We talked about this. You chunk the goals in pieces. And sustain is to tap into why frequently. For example, on the right, I have a whiteboard. There's a mountain, okay, with the long-term goal over there. And I have little mountain peaks with a little flag on it. And that's a short-term goal. So I see it. I also see it in my primer. So at times when it's hard, I'm like, why am I doing this? I know exactly why I'm doing this. Okay. Because it's going to get hard. And this is the point. It's going to get hard. Okay. It's not easy. It's going to get hard. It's going to take long. What costs me energy, and how can I reduce this from my life? Energy, guys. Very key. Without energy, we're all lost. A clear direction, necessity, and focus. Where am I going? Why is this more important? I said more important than the distractions that come up on a daily basis. Clarity is power. I saw someone asking so many questions. The more questions you ask, the more clear it becomes, and clarity is power. Direction and identity is what guides your decision. The clearer you are on both, the easier decisions in life become, as you already made the decisions and you can resist temptation. People then think, wow, you have so much willpower and discipline. But like, if you're very clear on your direction and what your identity is, you will have so much less decisions in your life. Okay. The same people that you think, oh, wow, they're very disciplined, they would also fail if they didn't have that. This is just a trick. Okay. Accept the consequences of your decision. Now we're coming to the point that I was talking about. Focus on what you will gain in the future instead of what you lose or miss out on now. If you don't decide, okay, you have a decision. We're talking about Twitch, playing poker, blah, blah, what do I want? If you don't decide, time and your environment will decide for you. Who doubts does not succeed. Okay, I will give you an extra sheet. All decisions we make and don't make, so indecision, have consequences. A reason why a decision is hard is because if you make a pros and cons list, yeah, they're quite equal, right? They're hard and they have consequences. And that fact is never going to go away. So then you can either choose and accept the consequences, or not make a decision and keep living in pain. But yeah, it has consequences. Safety is an illusion, I also wrote down. There's also some fear, which is the next point. Then we'll do a little exercise, and maybe after that, it will become a little bit clearer to you. Actually, in that exercise that we're going to do, I actually made the decision to start Poker Ambition. So it's a good exercise. Shout out to Mr. Tony Robbins. When you decided on a big goal, our unconsciousness will start scanning the world for ways to achieve this goal. It's very important. For example, let's say you're a lower stake player. You hear stuff about CFPs. You're just, doing your own thing. And then you suddenly set a very high goal. It's like, okay, I really want to reach it. And then you see a CFP advertisement again. You're like, CFP. Actually, my goal now is to become one of the best. Actually, maybe a CFP is not a bad decision. Before that, you would have also seen that advertisement of the CFP. But I mean, you didn't set that goal. So then you're like, oh yeah, CFP. Oh. It's the same that, if you're overweight and you drive past the gym and your goal is not to lose weight, you don't recognize it. When your goal is to lose weight and you see the gym, you're like, gym, lose weight. Hey, that's in line with my goals. So because your eyes or your brain, how if you want to see it, you see so much things. There's so much information. We filter. So if you tell your brain, hey, brain, this is our goal. Go filter for opportunities, right? Go filter for opportunities. And then suddenly you will see opportunities come along, which are in line with your goals. Then the next step is, reach my fear that you're going to grab those opportunities. Okay. Because a lot of people then talk about, yeah, I was lucky in my career. I noticed that, for example, in the podcast so far, in the 3 episodes, there was luck involved. I personally don't really believe that that's true. I think other people would have seen the same opportunities, or the opportunities would have presented themselves, but they didn't set that goal, so that they didn't saw it, or they did see it, but were afraid to take it. So there's a difference there. But this is why setting a big goal is so important. You start to think, innovative, like, okay, how can I reach that? And you start to see opportunities. Now, why do we often still fail so often, and how can we prevent that from happening? We will fail often, but we don't let that stop us and give up. It shows us one way how not to do it. I think this was from Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss sees failing as a data point that we can learn from. Maybe there's some data fanatics here in the group. Yeah, if you have a lot of data, and if you try a lot and fail a lot, you gain a lot of data. And with a lot of data, you can make better decisions. And now we get to the good point. Fear. What stops us from chasing our true purpose? And it keeps us in our comfort zone. This is it. Fear. Okay? Boo. Fear is what kept or keeps us alive. Basically, the fear is a response that the body has that says, danger, danger, get out. Remember, we are made to survive, not to strive. One of the first slides. You don't experience fear because you are you. You experience fear because you are human. Sometimes people use this and say, yeah, but I'm afraid. And they say, okay, yeah, so am I, right? So is everyone. Anyone who's not afraid is both stupid and lying. I think it was an MMA fighter who said that. So, it's not going anywhere. So we need to learn to live with it. The more attention you give it, the bigger it gets. Okay. Fear pops up. People pay a lot of attention to fear, feed on fear, and then fear only gets bigger. And then at some point you're paralyzed and you cannot make a decision. Sounds familiar? I think everyone has been here sometimes. The things we want most in life, and this is kind of the problem, come with fear because we care. If we don't care, there's no fear. Fear means you are on the right path. Okay. I wanted to give an example here. For the guys, I don't think the girls will maybe understand this, but when you, for example, are in a club and you want to approach a lovely woman, the more beautiful the woman is, or the more you feel attracted to this woman, the more important it becomes. So the more fear you have stepping towards this woman. Whereas if your friend says, hey, can you talk to that girl over there? And you're not attracted to her at all. You're like, oh yeah, no problem. Because you don't want it. You don't care if you feel, right? So the more you want it, the more fear exists. When you feel that, that means you care and that you're on the right path. You are chasing that purpose. Remember, purpose is actualizing one's true potential. Naturally, it's going to be outside of your comfort zone, so fear will be part of that. So in order to reach or live in line with our purpose, we need to conquer fear. You care about what you're doing, which is a good thing. Your body is aware of it, so it's generating more energy, preparing itself for battle. Okay? It's like, oh shit, something is going to happen. Let's prepare. Fear feeds on time and can only take over when you are low in energy. To come back to the bar example, the longer you wait approaching the girl, unless you start taking shots, okay, that doesn't count, the harder it's going to get. So fear feeds on time and can only take over when you're low in energy. Comes back again to energy. Energy number one. If you're low in energy, make bad decisions, you let fear in. That's why it's all about energy. We need to change. So fear is part of our life. What we're going to do is we change our interpretation of this energy from fear to excitement. Remember, something happened. Your body generates energy. It's like, hey, something's happening. Let's generate energy. A state of, I want to say arousal. Maybe I'm too much in the bar fod now. But a state of, a chemical cocktail starts to be made. So we feel in a certain way. And that energy itself is neutral. Okay. It's our perception that determines if we are afraid or excited. Okay, we're gonna now, this comes from the book The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. He says we have to be an alchemist, and we have to interpret that energy as, oh, wow, I'm so excited, because you are, but you're conditioned that that's fear, that you're actually afraid. And fear stops us from making us go forward. The last thing you want to do when you feel afraid is to calm down. We want to reinterpret that energy. We are excited. Okay. So a challenge arises. We feel a certain energy. We then label that energy. We have an interpretation. If that's fear, we stop. But if we interpret it as excitement, it's go time. Fear is not going anywhere. We have to learn how to deal with fear and interpret it differently. So what are we afraid of? This is the time that everyone has to pay attention, because we're going to do a little exercise. We are afraid of failure. It's usually one of the main fears. And we're afraid that we're not going to be enough and that we don't have what it takes. Okay. We're also afraid of success, especially when you're not prepared for it. You have a bad association with successful people. For example, your dad might have always told you when you were little, oh, these fucking rich people. And you created a bad association with rich people. And if you don't know that, you start to sabotage your own success because you don't want to get rich. You're afraid of success. You're afraid to be criticized, or you're afraid of not being loved. These are kind of the three main fears. Now I'm going to ask you guys a question. Pay attention, because we're going to do this now, not later. What if you would really, really commit to making it this year? Right? We already maybe already thought a little bit about how does it look if I have to play against those guys. And how does that look like? What can you do? Okay, you can take like 30 seconds, write it down, think about it. What would it look like? What would it look like if you would really commit? Sharing a chat with Dembo's there. No, that's the result of you really committing, right? All right. Now, my next question to you is this. Why is that so scary? You can write it in the chat, what you feel, what you think, what you experience. Why is that so scary? You're going all in. Why is that so scary? Now, if you liked this video and want to see the full version of this webinar, go over to pokerambition.com and let me help you turn this year into your greatest poker year ever.